Hello everyone, my name is Megan. You're watching Miss Megan Knits. Links to everything I talk about will be in the description box below, including a link to my Ravelry project page where you can see all of the projects I'm talking about today, as well as a link to my designer page on Ravelry, which I haven't designed anything in a little bit, but all the stuff I have designed is there for you to peruse and maybe purchase if you're interested. I have a couple of free patterns up there too, so something for everyone. How is everybody? I know it's been a while since my last podcast. It's been about a month actually, and I'm sorry about that. But life just kind of got in my face this past month, and I wasn't able to really sit and relax and even knit very much, so I didn't have much to show, and also I didn't really have the time to podcast. Today's episode should be a little bit shorter than normal just because I don't have as much to talk about because I haven't started anything new. So I have progress on stuff I have done, but not much else, and I'm sorry about that. It's just sometimes knitting is not the most important thing in the world. So I talked about last week in my introduction how I had been feeling a little up and down and a little crazy because of the weather and the seasons. And good thing is, as we've kind of shifted into fall, we're completely in fall now, I have been feeling a lot better. Back to almost normal. Daylight savings time though, it doesn't get me moody, I just get really tired. Even springing forward and getting an extra hour of sleep, I just don't sleep properly, and it's dark really early at night, so I end up getting tired at like 6 p.m. and then I have to force myself to stay awake until 9, and it's just a pain. Hopefully I can adjust, but we'll see. I also talked about last week in my introduction how I was going on a not a knitting retreat, I wish it was a knitting retreat. I was going on a church retreat, and I brought my knitting, and I had cast on 2 projects last month, to take with me so that I'd have something that I could do while I was being social. I didn't get much progress done on those there, but I did get much progress done on them since. And it was lovely. We talked about scripture, we just talked about our lives, we walked in nature. The only thing was there's no coffee in the main building, so when you wake up first thing in the morning you have to hike to get coffee, and that's not like my thing. You don't really have to hike, it's more of a walk, but it's cold out there, and it was cold at night, and it was just cold, and I wanted coffee, and I didn't have any until breakfast time, which was kind of late-ish because everybody wakes up at different times, you know, so some people slept in, and they didn't want them to miss breakfast, but I am an early riser, so I was looking for my coffee and didn't have any. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is FOs, as always. I do have one FO, which is more of a set that is now complete, so I'll show you the whole set, but I really only did one of them this past month. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I had an HO last time, which were these mittens, but I don't remember which one was the finished one. I think I finished the right one first. Can't tell. I'm going to hold up the left one because I think that's the one I finished this week, but if not, the other one looks exactly the same except flipped. These are the Antler Mittens by Tin Can Knits. I also made the Antler Hat by Tin Can Knits, both of which I made in an adult large. These are for the Church Holly Fair, and I feel like people don't make enough stuff for like adult large people, so I knitted up some adult large hat and mittens. And the hat can be kind of rolled up, almost like you would an Addy hat, to fit like a woman, like it would fit me. I haven't washed this yet. I'm going to wash it when I'm done, so I'm not feeling bad about putting it on. But it would fit me with a little bit of slouch. Or you could roll it down and have either like a very slouchy hat. On me, it would be very slouchy if I can put this on. Very slouchy. Or it might fit someone with a larger head than mine. I talked about this hat in detail the past 2 podcasts, so I'm not going to go into it again other than saying it is the Antler Hat by Tin Can Knits. And it's in the same yarn as the mittens, So when I talk about the mittens and the yarn I used for those, it's the same. The Antler hat's a free pattern, by the way. I highly recommend it. It was one of my first couple of cabled patterns. The cables aren't hard, and it was really fun to do. I made one for myself many years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, and it's like my favorite hat to wear now. So that's why I made one for the Holly Fair, because it's a good unisex, nice design. I like it a lot, and someone else will like it too. Mittens. Talking about the mittens, I can put these on. They're way too big for me though, because I have very small hands. My hands are a normal length, but they're really skinny, so these mittens don't fit me at all, but I'm going to put them on anyway. These mittens were made with the yarn Lion Brand Heartland in Mammoth Cave. It's 100% acrylic. It's got kind of a heather look to it. I really thought it was pretty. I was hoping for a wool blend, but my local Michaels didn't have any, and I didn't want to go to another store because I was already in Michaels, so I picked this up. But I'm liking it. I think it'll be nice and warm. Hoping. I used needle sizes 7 for the cuff and 9 for the rest of the mitten. The patterns, both of them for the hat and the mittens, were very clear. They're very concise. I understood everything well. I had issues with the decreases both on the mitten and on the hat. Not because they were too difficult to do, but because they did require following line by line instructions. And that's not my forte. I prefer charts. So I had a little bit of trouble there. And the hat, I actually had to fudge a couple of things with the decreases. But it turns out fine. Everything's fine. And the mitten decreases look really good. So I'm happy with them. I thought it was worth the little bit of extra effort to make them look nice. My other FO, the only other FO I have, was my Plarn Mat 4. I finished it. I donated it. It is off to the Mobile Loaves and Fishes truck, where it will go to somebody in need. I'm working on my 5th Plarn mat right now. It's my whip. I'm going to show you in a second. But I just wanted to say that if you want more information on Plarn making, on Plarn mats, on what I do with my mats, on how exactly I make my mats, the pattern that I use, it's really a single crochet rectangle. It's not difficult. You can head over to my All About Plarn video, where I talk about all of that stuff in detail. It's just that this is an ongoing thing that I talk about like every time I podcast, and I don't want to bore you with the same information over and over again, so I refer you to that video in case you haven't seen it, or in case you're interested in making some yourself. You can go check that out, but you don't have to sit here listening to me ramble about the size hook I use, and how to make the Plarn and all that stuff every time. I will show you my 5th Plarn mat right now. Sometimes I don't show the Plarn mats because they do get kind of big and bulky and don't fit on camera, but this is a fresh started one, so it should fit mostly, maybe not. It's kind of wide. We'll see. I apologize for any rustling of the Plarn mat as I move it around. I haven't had that much of a problem with it in the past, rustling, but I do like to apologize in advance just in case there's a problem today. So this mat is a mat that the homeless people in my community can sleep on. It's nice and wide. If you notice, it's really wide. And that's so they can kind of wrap up in it. So you lay on top of it and then you pull it over yourself and you have kind of like a sleeping bag almost. Made out of plastic bags, so it's also really great for the environment because it keeps all this stuff out of landfills. I think I figured out how to calculate how many bags go into a mat. It's a lot. Because there's 70 stitches across, I get like 3 stitches out of 1 loop. I get like 3 loops out of 1 bag, okay? And then I can count the number of rows on a finished one to figure out 70 times how many is how many stitches there are. I don't think you do the math in that order, but I'm pretty sure I could figure out how to do the math. But I just haven't yet because it's a lot of math, and it really doesn't matter because it's a lot. A lot of bags, which is good because it's keeping, you know, reusing the bags and also donating a mat to a good cause. This is actually kind of drapey, and you think it has holes in it, it wouldn't be warm, but the holes actually trap air, so it's quite warm. I have, like, you know, laid down on mine and stepped on them and stuff like that, and they come out really nicely, so they're definitely more comfortable than sleeping on the ground. And the people who go out on the Mobile Loaves and Fishes truck, which is the truck our church runs every other Saturday, we drive it to, I don't, I have social anxiety, I stay home. But people who go drive it to a certain area and meet up with people in need and pass out food and clothes and just necessities of all kinds on the truck. And other churches take the truck on other days, so it's kind of like a rotating thing. And what we do with these is once I finish them, I take them to church, I bring them up to the front, and the pastor blesses them, and then we load them up on the truck and hand them out to somebody who needs one. It's great. Other people in my church are doing it too. And then there are workshops that the church runs where all the ladies get together and like flatten the bags and do the simple stuff so that I can focus on the crocheting. So that's not true. I flatten and focus on everything, but it's easier if you have more hands. Many hands make light work. I just wanted to show you another note. I taught Bear how to make Plarn. Bear, my boyfriend, Bear. That is what I call him. He made a couple balls of Plarn for me. We actually sat together and made 8 balls. We talked and looped for like 2 hours and made a whole bunch of Plarn that I crocheted up, and it worked really well. It was a big help, so I'm very grateful for his help in helping me loop sometimes. He brought me two giant trash size bags of bags that his parents had been saving for whatever reason, for trash bags and whatever, but you just shop more than you get rid of trash, so a lot of bags. So he brought them to me, and my mom and I flattened them and cut them into loops, and hopefully he can help me loop some of those because we have a lot of loops now. I had just gotten to the bottom of that big box of loops I showed a couple episodes ago, and then he brought me those, and I was like, oh man, I was so close to being done. But it's okay. It was really a big help. My next whip, I figured I'd cycle from crochet into crochet. I actually have mostly crochet today, even though I'm called Miss Megan Knits and I prefer knitting. I'm mainly a knitter. I've been crocheting lately, so that's what we're doing. That's what I'm showing you. This animal is called Percy the Platypus, although I am modeling the colors of mine off of Perry the Platypus. It's from the book Cuddly Animals to Crochet, 28 Cute Toys to Make and Love by Lucia Fortman. And I'm going to show you the picture of the finished product. So this is what it's supposed to look like. I am modifying mine. So instead of doing these kinds of eyes, I'm going to be doing more like a googly eye kind of looking thing. Not a googly eye, but a white eye with the black center. Because that's what Perry the Platypus from Phineas and Ferb looks like. And I ended up using some Perry the Platypus colors, so I figured I might as well just make it look like Perry the Platypus. I am using a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook, which is very small for air and weight yarn, but it's making a nice tight, really dense fabric that the stuffing's not coming out of, so I'm very happy with it. This hook is from the Knit Picks Bright Crochet Hook set. It's the yellow one. I'm looking at my notes to tell me what I had finished and what I hadn't finished. So I think I had finished part of a foot. I finished that foot, that leg, the second back leg, and I finished both front legs as well. My notes are wrong. I typed those notes a couple days ago, and I have worked on it since then. That's why it looks a little bit funny. So total finished, we have, don't laugh, the body. I said don't laugh. The beak, the bill, the duck, the beak, the platypuses have. We have 2 back legs, and we have 2 front legs. And I'm just going to show you the difference between a front leg and a back leg. The back leg is bigger around the leg part, but they're the same foot. So there you go. So I'm going to give you a close-up of those. I was a crocheter who did not get very good at the magic ring before this. Or the magic ring. Magic loop is for knitting. This is the magic ring. And each one of these individual toes is worked separately, starting with the magic ring, and then you crochet them together. So that means I had to do 12 successful magic rings with way more magic rings attempted that were not successful, but these ones were the successful ones, and I am getting pretty good at it now. It only took me like 3 tries to get the last toe I did. So thank God the book has instructions on how to do all the techniques you need for the book. So I just flipped to the page on Magic Ring and did it a bunch of times and got decent at it. We'll see. I've seen a bunch of different ways to do it. The way I do it is you just kind of make a loop and then draw through and hold it and then draw through again, and holding it is the important part because otherwise it'll like go all wonky and it won't tighten. But I felt that was the simplest way to do it. That was the way my brain understood it, as opposed to like wrapping it around your fingers twice. But do what works for you. If you're having trouble with the Magic Ring, there's like a million ways, so YouTube it. The remaining thing I have to do is the tail, the eyes, and the assembly. But other than that, I'll be done. So hopefully I'll be finished by the next podcast, but I'm not gonna hold myself to that because the assembly is really scaring me. Every amigurumi I've assembled has been like crooked. And I know the way to get over that is to just practice. But it's been crooked, so not having a good time there. But anyway, here's the body. I put the bill on it like this. And then the front legs go about here-ish. And then the back legs go about here-ish. So the yarn I'm using is Caron 1 pound for both of these colors. This is teal, and this yellow color is sunflower. The eyes are going to be Red Heart Super Saver in soft white and Barocco Love It in black. I'm using Barocco Love It as opposed to a different, cheaper acrylic because Barocco Love It is actually what I had a little scrap of. I didn't want to bust into a whole skein for just the pupils. And the tail is going to be Nicole Studio Classic Plus in the shade Deep Brown. It's the same as Nicole Studio Classic in the shade Deep Brown. The difference is the size of the skein, not any of the content of the yarn. I've worked with Nicole Studio Classic in the past. I've knit with it. I love it. It's super soft. It's inexpensive. It's a wonderful acrylic to work with. Way better, in my opinion, than Caron 1 pound or Red Heart Super Saver, but for a similar price. But it is only at AC Moore. I do believe you can order it online. I'll link to that. I get mine at my local AC Moore store. I love my local AC Moore. Their yarn section is just like expanding. I guess they're getting a lot of customers for their yarn section and they're devoting more space and time to it because it looks wonderful. My third out of 4 projects, it's at 20 minutes. I only talked about like 3 things, is my Scrapadelic scarf that I started for the retreat. I am using 2 different kinds of yarn for this. I have Lion Brand Feels Like Butter, and these are scraps. And also Caron Simply Soft. So my colors are these. I like the red in there, it makes a nice pop. The rest of them are kind of boring, dull colors, but the red makes a pop. So I based my scarf on the Scrapadelic scarf from Elizabeth Pardue of Crochet in Color. I want to make sure I got her name right, so I looked at my notes. I am using a G-hook like she recommends. She does recommend starting with a row of single crochet. I did not. I just went straight for the half double crochets. And she also recommends counting your chains. She has a number in her pattern. I did not do that. I just measured my wingspan. I guess this scarf is longer than my wingspan, but I chained until it was about my wingspan. And I think that's a good length for a scarf. Good standard measurement for a scarf is about the wingspan of the person who will be wearing it. Most adults have about a 60-inch wingspan, so that's a good round number. But if you're making it for a child, a really easy way to do it is just have them go like this. And then you'll know exactly how long to make it. I'm picking the colors one by one, row by row, based on what I think looks best. I'm not looking ahead, I'm not planning anything, there's no stripe generators, there's no thought to it other than just, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? I'm actually hoping I have enough yarn. I didn't actually weigh it or measure it in any way, so I'm not positive I have enough, but we'll see how this goes. So here it is. It was just a couple of rows last time you saw it. It's worth noting one of the reasons I didn't weigh it is because I didn't really know how much I would need for a crochet scarf anyway, because I'm primarily a knitter. I know for knitting you need 200 grams is a good estimate for an adult scarf, but for crochet I have no idea. I know it eats more yarn than knitting, but I don't know how much more. But anyway, I think it depends on the crochet stitch. And these are half double crochets. I'm just gonna show you. Those are the colors I picked, one by one. I'm liking the red in there. It's making a nice pop. You can really see it from a distance. I'm not sure how wide I'm gonna make it, probably until I run out of yarn or until it gets wide enough. The beauty of it is you don't have to weave in your ends because the ends become fringe. So you just cut and start a new thing every time. No carrying colors up the side. But the thing is, this is kind of a wimpy fringe. She recommends in the pattern doing some kind of interesting braided fringe. I think I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to crochet in some just straight plain fringes. I think that would match my style a little bit better, but it did look really good the way she did it, so definitely check that pattern out. But this is nice because it's just rows of half double crochet, so you don't have to think about it, so you can talk while you're doing it, you can watch TV while you're doing it. My final whip is knitted. Yay! It's the birthday retreat socks, and I'm calling them that because I got the yarn for my birthday, and I cast them on for the retreat. So these are my usual toe up afterthought heel sock pattern. You can see my project pages for toe up afterthought heel socks for details on that. I use loosely based off the My First Toe Up Socks pattern by Susan B. Anderson for her craftsy class because that's how I learned how to make toe up socks. And I like having reference, but I did modify it to include a cut-in heel instead of a waste yarn afterthought heel. That's just what I did. You can see this marker here is where my heel is going to go. I like to put the marker in when I get to the heel-ish. You know, I get a little past it and then measure it and put the marker in. Just so I can measure, okay, my foot's this long, how long of a cuff do I want? And I can easily see how long the cuff is. This is the Premier Wool-Free Sock in the colorway Vegas Lights. I love it. I'm having an issue for finding a heel color that goes with it though. I would like to do a contrast heel because I did look on several Ravelry pages where people did a cut-in heel with this yarn and I didn't like the way it looked. It made kind of a bullseye. Self-stripping yarn does that. It's just the nature of it. It's not that there's anything wrong with the yarn. Anyway, I didn't like the bullseye look personally, so I'm trying to find a color that I can use to put in that is good contrast. Now would be the time in the podcast, since I've talked about all my whips. Premier Wool-Free Sock, Vegas Lights. I'm working on DPNs because I like them. I wanted to talk about new acquisitions. I did not acquire any yarn, nor did I purchase anything. But I wanted to talk a little bit about these. These are little drawstring bags that my dad got with some of his CPAP equipment. I guess they came packaged in these. And he didn't need them anymore, so he gave them to me. But they make the perfect sock sacks. They're the perfect size. They're not very pretty, but they're the perfect size, the perfect shape. And I can easily put a sock project or a hat project in here. And he has several of these CPAP equipment apparatuses. So he gave me a whole bunch of these, which is so cool. So very thoughtful of him, and I can definitely use these for sock sacks. In fact, if I ever learn how to embroider, you can embroider on them and make them even prettier, but I've still yet to learn how to do that. Maybe a blueprint class will show me. Oh, and one more thing. So one of the reasons I'm very excited to live in New England in this time of year is because you can show off all of the fun things you've knit. Basically, it's cold, but it's sunny. So it's a great time to go outside, go for a walk, but the problem is it's a little bit chilly. Like the wind blows and it's a little bit chilly. So I wanted to show you my favorite mittens that I keep in my primary coat pocket. Anybody who lives somewhere cold, you know, you have a whole lot of coats for different occasions. But my primary coat, keep these right in the pocket. These are the Hastings Mitts by Tracy Miller. These were my first and only ever color work. You can see they're different sizes from each other because I was very tight and uncomfortable when I did the first one, and then I loosened up on the second one, and this one looks a lot better. It also fits a lot better. But these are wool, I forget what I made them out of. It was a craft store yarn because it was my first ever color work and I didn't want to waste something good if it didn't come out right. Peyton's something. Peyton's. It wasn't. I think the classic wool is like a roving. This was spun. Peyton's worsted, classic wool worsted. I'll see if I can find it and link it. But in this pink color and this purple color, and this pink color has like dimension in it. It has like little bits of purple in it. So that's pretty cool. I did the size small because I have small hands. And I love these. They are so warm. So warm. And I'm going to wear them today because my boyfriend and I are going for a walk on the beach. It's so great to live, you know, close to the ocean because then we can just kind of drive there in the off season when there's not a whole bunch of people there. It's not full of strangers is what I really meant. Strangers. So you can go, you can take your animals. You really shouldn't. You're not supposed to, but we do because it's the off season and no one's enforcing it. And there's all kinds of cool rocks and shells and stuff because no one's going through picking them up. And it's, you know, it's sunny, it's beautiful, it's a fun place. So it's a good old fashioned time. So we're gonna go take a walk today. And that's my day. So, all right, I gotta go do stuff, do some editing, do some dancing. I gotta practice my flute because I've got a piece I'm performing for church, so I've got to make sure I know how to play it. But I will talk to you soon. I hope. My name is Megan. You've been watching Miss Megan Knits. Once again, links to everything down below. And I will talk to you next time I see you. Bye.